everyone. Welcome back to ADW TV. My name is Taylor.
I'm Nicole.
And we're with A Destination Wedding. So around a month ago, we did a Facebook Live with Elgin Travel and Cruises, and we're like, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Why aren't we doing this more often?
Yeah.
And on top of that, we get asked so many questions, like about everything related to destination weddings. So we decided to create this whole series called How to Book a Destination Wedding.
So today we're doing step 1, and I will give you a little forewarning. It might be a little longer than normal videos that we would post on Facebook.
Treat it like a webinar.
Absolutely. So you can refer back to it later. You don't need to watch the whole thing. You can go back and watch it later.
Or take notes, because, yeah.
Exactly. Note taking is always good. So what we are doing today, so step 1, probably the biggest question is, here we go.
How to set the budget.
Setting the budget. So what I always like to say is with my couples is set 2 budgets. So we want to set a budget for the travel, and then we want to set a budget for the actual wedding. That will make it so much easier just because you're not dealing in the same kind of currencies. So much easier to kind of understand when you're going through options.
Well, they're also 2 separate things in general, right? So
absolutely.
You want to, your travel is the vacation part, right? Yeah. And the wedding is the wedding day, right? So they're completely separate things.
Absolutely, yeah.
Something else you want to do is you want to create a priority list of your must-haves versus like a wouldn't be nice if we could have them, but you don't necessarily need them list.
Exactly,
So for example, it would be like you really want photography. That's on your top priority list because pictures are forever.
Right.
Or I need it to be outside. Versus like, if we don't get the Tiffany chairs, it would be whatever.
And the lanterns and the string lights and all that kind of stuff.
So must-haves and other.
Like to have, So we're going to start with wedding budget. So we'll jump right into that. So for wedding budget, there are 5 main factors that I feel are really going to affect that budget for you. And those are the 5 here. So we've got US dollars, guest count, symbolic versus legal, semi-private versus private, and then extras. So with that,
So the first one is US dollars. Like we mentioned, US dollars. Everything concerning your wedding budget is usually set in US dollars. So like in Mexico, Jamaica, really Costa Rica,
all those
places when they're talking about wedding related stuff, it's usually in US dollars.
Exactly.
So if you set your budget based on US dollars, then it's less kind of confusion.
Exactly. Because if you say, oh, my wedding budget is 5,000 Canadian, you actually have to keep in mind that's about 3,800 US. So you don't want to get confused. So if you can set it in US dollars for your wedding budget, much better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Something else you want to keep in mind is guest count. That's true, I guess, in really any type of wedding because the more guests you have, the more expensive it is. The more tables you need, the more everything, the more chairs. So it really does make a difference.
Yeah. And most packages will include 10 to 30 people depending on the hotel. So if you have a group of 50 or 60, you're going to pay more for those extra people above the package inclusion. Yeah,
so that would be an extra guest fee. So you've hit your 30 and say you have 5 more, you have an extra guest fee usually per person for those extra things.
Yeah, and it will range probably anywhere between $20 to $90 for the extra guests. It really depends on what your package includes, what the location is, but on average 20 to 90 for every extra guest above that maximum.
Yeah.
The other thing is kind of a big one that will really affect pricing for wedding budget is if you're doing a symbolic or a legal wedding.
So first, a symbolic wedding is so technically the legal wedding is where all the official papers, so that means you're officially married in the eyes of the government, so you sign all those official papers, versus the symbolic where you've done kind of that legal stuff at home, you're kind of just celebrating your love at that point, so unofficially with no legal stuff.
And again, for that, usually with symbolic weddings, there's not really any extra charges on top of the wedding package cost. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a staff from the wedding department that does the ceremony for you. If you want, you can hire a minister. And again, it might cost you $200 to $300 for that. But for legal weddings, there's quite a difference in cost. So we can look at kind of some of the examples here that you could factor in if you want to do a legal wedding. So everything we have here, so a lot of times they'll need your long form birth certificates. If you're in Ontario, that's $35 Canadian per person. If you are going to a country that is not English speaking, you often will have to translate and legalize your documents. So again, $40 per page for translation, $60 per page for legalization. I mean, just for Dominican, to give you an example, if you're getting married in Dominican Republic, it's $560 just to get that paperwork done. Notary fees, you often have to have your birth certificate or passport notarized. Then we get into the actual license and legal fees for the destination. So that again can be $300 to $1,000. And then there are some countries that need blood work. So blood work usually anywhere between $250 to $300 per couple. So in total, you could add anywhere between, honestly, $800 to $1,500 just to do a legal wedding on top of your package cost. So that's a big thing.
Yeah, and ever since I've been with Nicole, so that's roughly a year now, I've seen a lot more symbolic weddings just because of that, right? So, and if if you're worried about, oh, but then our official wedding date won't be the day of the ceremony, you can. Who cares? Don't
celebrate it on whatever day you want.
Well, the thing is, unless you tell people, they actually won't really know if it's symbolic versus legal because you still sign like a ceremony certificate. So it still looks like you're doing something legal. So who really knows?
It's great for that. The next thing that will really affect your budget is if you're doing semi-private or private functions. So with that, semi-private is kind of the most common inclusion that you could get in a package. Some of the things that you can expect with the semi-private, your extra guest fee is going to be on the lower side. So because you're doing semi-private, extra guest fees can often be between $20 to $25 per adult. Kids, they might be free, they might be half price. Key points to keep in mind though, with semi-private, that means you're having your dinner in an a la carte restaurant with other guests there.
So you have no privacy at all. It's like a normal dinner, right? Like you just went out to a restaurant and you're eating together. That's really what it's like.
Exactly. And a lot of them will also have maximum group sizes for a la carte. So quite often it could be anywhere between 30 to 40. So if, again, you have a wedding of 70, 80 people, they're not even going to offer you that a la carte option because you've exceeded the maximum. So your only option there for the free dinner would be then to go to the buffet. So, and then the other thing with that is, you know, tables will be together in the same area, but there's no speeches, no music, no special dances.
So it's really like I said earlier, it's like you just went to a restaurant and you ate together. So it doesn't really give you that wedding feel, which is also totally fine because you can also do something afterwards that's more wedding-y like.
Right. And I mean, that kind of brings us into then the private function option. So for private functions, there's, again, a lot of things that you can consider with that. So with private functions, if your wedding package includes a private function already, and there are some that will do that, your extra guest fee will be higher. And that is because, again, your extra guest fee is based on separate menus, private space, extra staff, all that kind of thing. So that all goes into that rate. So that's why, again, it's a little bit more than what you'd expect on semi-private. And as Taylor said, if your wedding package includes a semi-private, you can still upgrade to a private dinner, or you can just do a private after party.
Yeah, and this is where you would add that beach bash or go to the disco if there's one on site, right? There's so many other options, even if you choose semi-private.
Exactly. You can still kind of have a party atmosphere without paying maybe the full private reception cost.
Unless that's what was important to you, right? You have to look back at that must-have list. If having fully private dinner with the speeches and the dancing and everything is important to you, then this is your option, right?
Exactly. And then for private events, it really depends on the hotel. Some of them will offer a private function for a flat fee, or there are others that will charge menu fees per person. So when you look at pricing for that, most common flat fee options, and again, it will always be based on guest size, but anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500 US is kind of a common flat fee rate. Menu fees, if you're paying by menu fee, again, there's a huge range here depending on the hotel, but anywhere from $20 to $65 per person. But that and then includes your venue, it includes your meal, it includes the open bar, and normally 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours is kind of common. And then, like Taylor said, you know, flexibility. So you can add anything that you want when it's a private. You can do your speeches, DJ, music.
Even adding the decor, because earlier in semi-private, you can't change the restaurant layout. You can't add those lanterns you might want or something. So now in this private dinner, it's like a normal wedding, a typical wedding. You can add all of your decor if you wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's absolutely no limit on the extras that you have for that.
Speaking of extras, that is actually our next point, is
yes.
that this is where you would go. So after figuring out all that, then you go to your must-have list, and you're like, okay, what are the extras that we really want?
Right.
Do we need flowers versus bringing in like flowers from home that are silk?
Yeah, and I've got some things here to take
so
a look
photo and video is one of the top. Normally, that's one of the top extra that's on your importance list. I know basic packages at the resorts usually start between $400 to $600 US.
Right. Yeah.
And that would include maybe like
an hour to an hour and a half usually of photographer time, and then very limited images, anywhere between 30 to 50. So it's basically really just like a starter package.
Yeah, but obviously like we mentioned in our earlier video maybe a month ago, we were talking about how all the resorts usually have an on-site photographer, so it's already kind of like they're already working with someone, so you would so they already know, and there's already packages laid out. But obviously, you're more than welcome to bring your own. But is that important to you? Do you have room in your budget to bring someone over? Are there extra fees that go into that? So that's something that would totally affect your budget.
Yeah.
Something else like DJ, sound system, dance floor.
Yeah.
Is that in your budget? Is that important to you? Let's look at that as an extra.
Yeah. The flowers, like Taylor mentioned, lighting, like again, string lights, Chinese lanterns.
And once you figure out the important extras and figure out where you sit in your budget, now you can think about the upgraded chairs.
Exactly.
You can think about the Chinese lanterns. You can think about all
welcome
of those
bags
things.
Or doing an excursion for the group, anything like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the fun money, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So it's like okay, well, you know what? We've got the main things down, and we've still got a little bit left in our budget. What do we want to add for that wow factor?
Exactly. Yeah. So you get the important things taken care of, and then you're like, now can we play?
Exactly. Yeah. The next part. So I mean, that kind of wraps up wedding budget. So 5 big factors. Of course, there's always some other little things along the way, but really those are the 5 main things that you want to consider. Now for travel budget, we have 4 main factors for travel. So again, when you're considering setting a travel budget, you want to consider location, time of year, resort and styling, and again, resort style and rating, and again, group size. That group size keeps coming in there no matter what we talk about.
So this one is really important to keep in mind that usually, most likely, 99% of the time, it will be Canadian dollars.
Yes.
So that's another reason why we're separating the two between wedding and travel, because 1, not only are they different, but 2, they're different currencies.
And you can't just add them together and get a total. So.
No, exactly. So this is why it's completely separate. So Canadian dollars for this one.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the first factor that we're talking about is location.
Right.
So typically speaking, the Spanish-speaking countries are less expensive than the English-speaking ones.
Absolutely.
So, for example,
a little exclusion. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few. Obviously, there's always an exception to the rule, but usually like Mexico, Cuba,
all those are going to be your
Puerto Plata and Dominican, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. Like your least expensive, for sure. Cuba, Puerto Plata kind of are the most economical, and then above that we would go into things like Punta Cana. Mayan Riviera, Jamaica, actually that's probably the most affordable English speaking, but Jamaica would kind of be in that mid-range. Yeah. And then
you go to, if you're looking at Aruba or Costa Rica, which is the exception to the rule.
Yes.
But Costa Rica is a bit more on the higher side.
Barbados, exactly. St. Lucia, all those kind of Southern Caribbean English colonial type islands.
So that would definitely depend. So your budget would definitely depend on, or your location would definitely have a factor in your budget.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah. The other one's time of year. So for time of year, we have a couple different things here. So there's always different seasons in travel, and I'm going to try and keep it a little short here, but hurricane season. So there's a couple points I want to make about that. Hurricane season is July to kind of end of October, early November. A lot of times people think hurricane season means it's going to be the absolute cheapest time of the year. But summer months, July and August.
Everyone's out of school.
Everyone's out of school, so it's actually not super, super cheap for that time. If you're looking September, October, absolutely agree with you that those will be the 2 most affordable months.
Yeah, but that's also when the most rain would happen. That's why they are the most affordable, because that is more, it would be a bit more precipitation than July.
Yes.
But anyway, so those middle months of that hurricane season would be
for sure. And we have like a couple pros and cons. So again, the pros of that hurricane season is, again, you're going to get a good wedding price or a good travel price and wedding availability. So a lot of times if there's certain hotels that book way in advance or are super popular, it's hard to get a wedding date and time. At this time of year, it's a little bit easier to get that. and more bang for your buck. So, I mean, you can maybe do the 5-star hotel, but get like the 3 to 4-star price. So, those are some good things. The cons, as Taylor said, you know, the heat, humidity, you might get a little bit of afternoon showers. And the other big thing that I like people to know about that time of year is the limited services. So a lot of times they will rotate restaurants, so they may not have every restaurant open every night. You may have to, you know, it might be open 3 to 4 days a week, so you kind of have to play around
kind
your
of
schedule.
Schedule
exactly
more than you would probably want, but
exactly. Shoulder season, which kind of is like in between, I would say, low and highs, to give you kind of an idea. Most affordable months outside of hurricane season. Absolute lowest price months of the year, avoiding those hurricane season months, are May, November, and early December. And the pros being that your weather is more stable. Again, you still get good rates for travel, and then all the services at the hotel will be open. Cons, basically, more limited in wedding availability, just because it is popular time for travel. So that means busier for weddings and less options available for times and dates.
Especially when your resort only may do 1 wedding a day.
Exactly. And then peak season, traditionally like December, meaning like that Christmas time. So December through April. Again, highest peak months of the year for sure is,
well, because it's freezing here.
Yes,
and it's warm down there.
Exactly. And those like really peak months would be mid-February to kind of early April. So if you want a winter vacation wedding, I guess.
Yeah.
Then the 2 months that are better than most are going to be, again, your January dates, and then kind of like mid to end of April. So those are kind of the ones that would really
so it's still
give you the better
cold
value.
here.
Yes.
But it might not be like freezing, but you're still getting
Well, if
away,
it was
right?
like our April, I know we went away in April this year, and it snowed the day before we left, and we left on the 7th of April. So April's not necessarily, it could still be winter.
Yeah.
It could be winter here.
So another one of the points is the style and rating would
Yes.
definitely affect your budget and where you're planning on going. So the style, so basically, if you have kids who are planning on coming to the wedding, then your choice is easy. It would be a family friendly, and which typically are more affordable than the adult only.
Right.
Adult only is considered more of a luxury because
the services they offer,
and you have to be 18 or older to get in, all of that stuff. So if you have only 18 and older going, then you could probably consider an adult only, but you might be paying more at that point.
Yeah.
And then another is the rating of the hotel as well. So mid-range to luxury. So that will be where
3-star, 5-star. And again, what goes into those ratings is a lot of times, you know, the facilities at the hotel, how many restaurants, how many bars, what the rooms are like,
free Wi-Fi,
all that stuff. Yeah, concierge service or
so the
beach
more
butler.
So the more that's included, the higher the price might
be. Yeah, exactly. The other thing is group size. And again, I know we've said this like multiple times already this morning, but group size for sure. So most common belief for people think, okay, I'm taking a group, more people equals lower price.
Wrong.
Not true anymore. Yeah. So not anymore. For group pricing, the way they work it is it's called tiered pricing. So yes, tiered pricing. So when you think of it, when you're looking online for pricing and, you know, you're looking at 2 seats, 3 seats, 5 seats, whatever, you're going to get, you know, prices based on that number of seats. But for group rates now, what they'll do is we give them an anticipated group number. So we might say we want 30 seats, 40 seats, whatever.
Which is our typical.
Exactly.
Just to get a range, yeah.
And they're going to give us a price based on that. So sometimes it's not less expensive. Sometimes it might actually be $30 to $40 more than what you see online.
So not super crazy, right? So
exactly. But, you know, you kind of need that because if you're planning a wedding, you want to make sure you have enough seats for everyone to travel together to get all your perks and incentives and everything. So keep that in mind that group size does not necessarily mean lower price. Your perks, though, that you get, so the larger group that you have.
Perks are my favorite.
Yes, exactly. So the larger group that you have, you can earn things like free seat credits, which, again, you can use to either offset the cost of the wedding yourself, or, you know, if you're choosing maybe more of a luxury property than a lot of people could afford, you can split that up amongst everyone, give them an extra discount.
Yeah, so those credits that you receive, so depending on how many people you have going, what their seat credit perk is, that's your money at the end, right? And so you get to decide how you spend that. So like Nicole said, you can spend it on wedding versus splitting it up, or hey, grandma Smith can't
Yeah.
can't afford it, so we're just going to help her out a bit or
Yeah.
something like that,
Yeah,
right?
I want to give $300 to this person or whatever.
Yeah.
Totally your choice what you do, but definitely those perks will come in. So, you know, maybe more than internet, but you get a big chunk of perk at the end.
Yeah.
The other thing too, the other thing too is for group size is the perks for weddings. So some resorts will actually give you perks for the actual wedding cost,
which is so cool.
Yeah. So Sandoz hotels, for instance, when you have 90 room nights, they will give you $1,000 off your wedding. So if you had 180 room nights, they'll give you $2,000 off. So,
and that's the thing. So for a couple, going in normal weeks, so 7 days, that is 7 room nights right there, right?
So 13 rooms gives you that $1,000 off.
Yeah.
So I mean, those are all little things to kind of factor in that, you know, maybe will stretch your budget a little further is when you can factor in those kind of perks.
Yeah.
So I mean, that I think is kind of
those are the 4 factors, right?
Big 4 factors that you want to consider. We also have kind of a little bit of a quick do's and don'ts list. So remember these kind of things when you're setting a budget. So the do's.
Do some math. So you would do this normally for a regular wedding here locally as well. So make sure you're considering what you have now and what you plan if you want to spend any of that money towards the wedding. So you take that into account. What you can comfortably save. On here we have prior to departure, but actually I would really like to say before any of the balances are due.
Right.
What you can comfortably save from now until, say, a month before the wedding, because that's when balances are due, for example.
Yeah.
Also take into consideration if like mom and dad are helping, if grandma's chipping in or whatever, any type of family contributions.
Yes.
Also, if you're doing anything fundraising, so whether you're selling raffle tickets or if you're doing a stag and dough. So kind of gauge how much money you have coming in and what you can spend on the trip and the wedding.
Exactly. And then again, another do, book early. So in my opinion, sweet spot for group pricing 12 to 18 months prior. And that's because a lot of times you get pre-registration rates, which are based on previous year's travel. And then one thing to keep in mind with that booking early, a lot of times we'll get people say, oh, well, I'm going to wait last minute, I'll get a better price. Not necessarily, because we actually have it where hotels will sell out 3 months in advance and there is no space.
Yeah.
So when you book early, a lot of times you will still get a one-time price adjustment. So it's not like you're locked in forever. There are some terms and conditions to it, but you know, if you meet that, we are able to potentially lower your rate once during, you know, the whole
So if there's
process.
a good drop, right, say $100 per person, like there you go, right?
Yeah.
So next one is trust a professional who specializes in groups. AKA us. Trust us. Come to us. No, but seriously, so go to someone who kind of knows, who has experience in the industry, who knows that can give you kind of an approximate price range for the locations, the dates, has some kind of idea that can help you out to help you make this decision.
Exactly, yeah, because again, you know, if you were to come, for instance, if you tell me that you want to go away in, you know, February and you want a 5-star luxury hotel, but you have a budget of $1,000, I know that won't work. So
in the nicest way possible, she's going to.
I will tell you that. No, I will tell you, you know, realistically what you could expect. Or again, if that's your budget, then I can maybe tell you the time of year and locations that you could, you know, potentially look at for that. So either or.
Yeah, so flexibility once talking to a professional.
Exactly. And then encourage your guests to book by a single booking source. So when we were talking about those group perks and the wedding perks, a lot of times the restrictions on that is that the group has to come through one booking source. So that means, you know, one group file. If you have people booking on Expedia or Travelocity, or, you know, Joe wants to book with the travel agent down the street for him or whatever, they don't count all those bookings. So again, it's to everyone's benefit and again, for yourselves, the wedding couple, to get the most perks and incentives if everyone books together.
Yeah, and plus you have everyone together, so it just makes it easier in general.
Exactly. And then we have our don'ts. So for don'ts, like I said, don't set budget based on internet pricing.
Good for research, just to get a general idea of what you may or may not be able to afford, what kind of star hotel, what kind of location maybe. But like, do not really.
Don't take the pricing for
exactly what it's
accurate. Again, and like I said, don't set your budget on previous travel. You know, if you went somewhere 5 years ago and paid $1,200, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be $1,200 3 years from now. Same with, you know, a friend of a friend who went for a wedding there and paid this amount of money. Again, things change very, very quickly in the travel industry, and a lot of times the more popular a hotel gets, the more expensive it gets. So,
so things change in general, right? Like prices go up all the time, so why even expect for it to stay the same?
Exactly. And then don't forget to consider the budget of your closest friends and family that you want to attend. So
talk to people first, like, hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, grandma, what do you guys all think? Hey, we're looking for a destination wedding. Give me your thoughts on price.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right, so.
And then again, don't set your firm budget without doing a little research or asking questions first.
So come to us, like send emails.
Absolutely, yeah. We are happy, like whenever we get an inquiry, we will send out an introductory package, and I always like to put real wedding examples in there so that you know what to expect. So
we will send you all the stuff.
Yes, all the stuff. So you can see kind of what another group with their group size, time of year, location that they went to, you can see what they paid for group rates for travel, and again, what was included in their wedding for what kind of cost. So it gives you, again, you can't really go year from year, but it will give you a general idea,
right? It gives you an idea of what you can kind of expect. Obviously, don't take those prices exactly because yours might be different. Yours will be different.
Yeah.
But
for sure, yeah, give us a shout. Any questions, even feel free to comment below here, or if you're watching this later, we're happy to answer any of those questions.
Call us, email us, really do whatever. If you're like, hey, we just got engaged and we're thinking of a destination wedding,
absolutely,
bam, we will send you stuff.
Absolutely. So we wanted to kind of just wrap this up. So those are our main things. Again, setting a wedding budget is, or setting a budget is wedding and travel, 2 separate budgets with those points. Thanks for joining us today. We were so happy to kind of do this first one here. And I know it was a little bit rushed, or a lot of information, and we could probably talk for more and more.
So play this over and over again if you're considering a destination wedding. Call us, email us, like I've said a million times, because we would love to talk to you. We are experts in the industry, and we just want to share everything we know. So please come to us.
Yes. So next time, what are we up to? Step two, which is choosing your location. So that's going to be lots of fun too.
So stay tuned. So make sure you like us on Facebook and like us on Instagram, because we will be posting about when that's happening. And obviously another way to contact us as well.
All right, guys. So take care. Thanks so much for joining us today.